and welcome back again. So in the previous video we made up some of the pages using the digital kit, and I want to add some more pages to it. Now when it comes to this part, the list is pretty endless. Most of us know that we can use either our tea or coffee dyed papers. There's also papers that you might have already pre-coloured, so I've got a selection here of green food colouring papers. This one is pink, peach, and I think there's purple in here as well. And this is what I do with all my dyed papers, is once they're dry I put them in one of these folders and it keeps them relatively flat, not totally flat but relatively flat. So yeah, I've got some purple in there too, and some lovely shades of peach. There's obviously avocado dyed papers as well. This is my coffee dyed wallpaper papers, and I have done a video on this previously. I'll try and link it in the description box down below. There's graph paper, then we've got, you know, vintage book pages or just book pages, and let me just move those out of the way because they're getting quite heavy. If I can find a space. There we go. Then I've got, oh heck, what are these called? Ledger papers. So I've got some of those, whether they be brand new or whether they be vintage. And then I've got this book, which I started building on quite a few years ago. And it is basically a book of music. And then what I did was I went through and I added paper napkins on top of the music paper, and I've got quite a few of these. I obviously liked that napkin. Don't want Alice in Wonderland because she's not relevant, nor the map ones. So that I've got these to hand. And I thought that one could be quite pretty to use with the fuchsias and the hummingbird. And so what I did was I decorated one side and then left the other. So that was some scraps of music paper I got left over, napkin that I got left over. That one's quite bold and dramatic, isn't it? But beautiful. And then I came across these. So I think I might be using some of these in the journal because they sort of excuse me, start to add to the summer feel of things. But you could just put plain music paper in there, have a sort through your napkins if you want, and you know, do a few pages of your own. But yeah, I've got a couple of those, so I might use some of those in this journal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort out which papers I want to use. Oh, I'm missing one. Yeah, there we go. Some handmade papers, and this one has got some petals in between it. This is the one actually that we used in the Royal Journal. So if you've bought kits from me previously, you might have some of this in there. But I thought that sort of lent itself to this sort of florally, naturey type of look as well. So I might include some of those too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and sort out which papers I want to put in together with the digital kit. I'm going to make sure that they mix and blend well, so that blends well with it. I don't want, for me personally, I don't want papers that are going to be clashy. I like fairly muted colours, and I like them all to sort of mix and match together so that they all blend together nicely. I'm going to choose probably 3 extra sheets of paper for each of the signatures, but I'll see how I go as I'm starting to sort through the papers. So I'm going to go off and go and do that, and I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, these are the papers that I've chosen for now. I can always add to them later. So I've chosen 4 tea dyed papers, 4 of the food colouring papers in green. I've chosen 4 wallpaper papers, but I've chosen 2 types. So I've got the coffee dyed ones, and I've also got some that I did with metallic spray. So they're quite pretty and adds a little bit of shimmer and colour. I've chosen 2 of the handmade paper with the onion skin in. I've got 2 sheets of graph paper in green. I've got 1 sheet, I might add another one, of the ledger paper, and I've got some book pages. Now, one of the other things that I need to think about as well is if this is going to be used for writing in, I need papers in there that people can actually write on. So if I choose something that's overly busy, then it just means that it's going to be difficult to write on top of the papers, all right? I don't know what order these are going to go in the journal, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to assess each individual signature. I'm going to look at the pages that I've already used from the digital kit and then see what I can add to them. The other thing to remember is that this paper can be used both in landscape, which is long ways on that way, or portrait, which is long ways on that way. All right. I don't want to just fold the paper in half because that would be boring. So I want to do something a little bit different with each of them. So I could fold it this way. Now I know that this part is going to be too long and it's going to stick out, but there's no reason why I can't fold the edge in to make it smaller. Okay, because that's going to be one part of the signature and this is going to be to the back part of that signature, but it just adds that little bit of extra interest. I could also use the paper so that it's portrait, you know, and then fold it in half that way, and then I've got narrow pages, but again it's too long. So what I could do is I could fold this piece up so that I know then that it's the right height, and it doesn't matter if it's shorter, it just doesn't want to be longer. So I could fold that up and then I could make those into pockets. But the other thing that I could do is I could also fold that back. So then I've got a flip and a tuck spot. I could also put it that way up. Let's do the same on that one. So I've got top tucks instead of just bottom tucks. So there's all sorts of things that you need to sort of just think about and look at. So I'm going to go off and go and sort through all of these. It's going to take me I would say a good half an hour to go through these and just decide what's going to go where, and whether I'm going to have it portrait, landscape, whether I'm going to fold bits up. But we'll see how we go, and I'll come back and show you in a bit what I've done. Just a quick update before I add them to the journal. Let's start with these first. So the book pages, most of them I've just folded in half, because if I add those in like that as a page, then it means that I've got these as little tuck spots or pockets. This one I've just folded the bottom edge up because I liked this image on the back here, so I wanted to keep that. So again, if I fold that in half and add that as a page, I've got this image here now visible. Okay, and yes, some of the text is upside down, but I'm not worried about that because I can decorate it. Right, so that's what I did with the book pages. With the graph paper, I just ripped it in half lengthways on this way, so that again I can fold it in half, and I've left the white edges for now because I might rip those off, I might decorate them, I don't know yet, but I know that I wanted some different sizes of papers in there. So if I fold that in half, and then obviously I'll have to rip this down anyway, or cut it down to be able to fit it inside of the journal. But that's what I've done with those four. With the wallpaper dyed papers and the handmade papers, I've just folded those in half. Because they're quite decorative, I want to be able to find their place in the journal and then decide from there what I'm going to do with them. So I'm just folding those in half for now. The tea dyed paper, as you can see, I've been doing a bit of ripping. So this one, I folded it over, not halfway, but I folded it over about a third of the way, and then the other half I've just folded it over so that it makes either a nice big pocket or as a flip out. This one, I folded it in half lengthways on, and then I've cut it in half. So I've got two smaller pages now. And then these two I ripped all around the edge, and on this one I will ink up the edges on these eventually, but they just add a little bit of texture to the journal. And the green ones, and I'm keeping these for now as well, and the green ones I folded this one up this way quite high up and then folded it in half, because all these different size pages and different little flip pieces add the interest to the journal pages. So this one I just folded it in half lengthways, and then folded that bottom bit up, and then folded those over. And I could either have them on the outside like they are here, or on the inside. But I'd need to put something else in between to separate the two pages, so I'm going to put that way. This one I folded it in and just did a little folding on that side, and this one I folded it in half, and then I'll just show you it. So I folded it in half, folded the edge in, and folded the edge in. So that makes a set of sort of quite interesting pages. Now I'm going to go and add them to the journal. That's that bit done, and yes, it took me about half an hour to do, because I had to make sure that the papers all blended together well. Now this is not set in concrete, what I've laid up, and some of the pages need some alteration to them to make them fit into the journal, but I wanted to show you my first attempt at putting the pages together, because I can change them around as I'm going along. The other thing you need to know is that whilst I'm using the elastics, which are great because it means I can pull out each individual page and decorate it and then pop it back in and see how it's coming along, in the end I will sew each signature together and then pop it under the elastic so that it holds it all together nicely. But in the meantime, whilst I'm decorating, I'm not going to stitch them together. Alright, so I'll show you how it's looking so far. So this would be the first signature. So as you can see, this page needs cutting down, and I altered some of the sizes of some of the pages to create that bit of interest. So like those three there are what create the interest. That folds out and it goes together nicely with the DigiKit. Because this is now the basis with which then you can then go and decorate on top of. So it's important to get this bit right. It's easy to just slap together a few pieces of paper and hope for the best, but if you put a little bit of thought into it, you can see that it blends together really well with the colours, the shapes and the sizes. And that's what you need to think about. So we've got the pocket there. I've got that one folded in half, so that could be a tuck spot, and that could sit further up the page, or it can help to frame the book page here. That obviously needs altering size wise. Now I might end up removing this one and adding something else, maybe a paper bag instead. And of course I've got those scraps of wallpaper left over as well. So there's still things that I could add and change. So that would be the second signature. The third one. Obviously that one needs altering size wise. And that green, although it's a different shade of green, it sort of just helps to lift the green and the yellow on that page. And on the odd one or two, I might add an envelope in the centre of each signature. But as I say, that's the nice thing, is I can chop and change it about, and especially as I come across other bits and pieces that I might want to add to it. So I could swap things out. But at the moment, this gives me a little bit of a start. And this one, I folded it in half and then folded it in half again, and then tucked down the corners because I thought the colours went nicely with this page. Green goes nice with that one. So it's looking at the colours, the textures, the sizes, the shapes. Alright. And also, the other thing is, because there's multiple signatures, that is going to sit next to each other. Flip that over. Oh, did that wrong. Hang on a minute. That's the first signature. So that's going to open up like that. Yeah, then that one. So those two are going to be side by side. Flip that one over. Do I want the green? I want the blue. So I want that next to each other. And then that will be next to that one. And I'm not going to put them under the elastics just for now, but you can already see it's starting to look a little bit chunky. And I've not even decorated it yet. I'm not going to go mad on the decorating though, I have to say. So that's the thought process that I go through when I'm putting a signature together, especially multiple signatures. In the next video, I'm going to go through some of the decorative pieces from the digital kit and the extra pages, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to add them to these signatures. All right, thanks for joining me again today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Bye.